So anyway, we're back, and it's great to have our guest on the guest line, Jeanne Beard, founder of the National Autism Academy and author of Autism and the Rest of Us. Jeanne, welcome to the Brian and Lee Show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Where are you calling us from?
Wheaton, Illinois.
Wheaton, Illinois. Oh.
Yes.
So you're in the central part of the United States, just about.
Yes, right in the middle, near Chicago.
Oh, very good, very good.
What's the weather like there?
It's gorgeous here today.
Oh.
70, 75 and sunny. Beautiful day today.
That's about what we have today, and tomorrow for Easter we have about, 85, I think?
85 it's going up to.
85, my gosh.
Nice. That'll make for some good Easter egg hunts, huh?
Absolutely it will.
Absolutely. It's going to be great. I have to ask you, why did you found the National Autism Center?
What made me found the Academy?
Yeah.
Well, after I wrote Autism and the Rest of Us, I was working with parents, and I wanted a better vehicle to reach more people, to reach more parents, because I really believe that education about autism is the number one thing we can do as parents and as a nation to support the individuals that are being diagnosed in droves now. They're even saying 1 in 45. It's been 1 in 68 for a while. Now they're saying it's 1 in 45.
Wow.
And so, very often when a parent has a child that's diagnosed, the person who diagnoses them, hands them a slip of paper and says, well, it's autism, good luck.
Yes.
It's a shame, but it's true.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So I want to be a first line of information for parents that are getting this diagnosis, because I really believe that giving them a solid understanding of the basic neurology and some understanding of the common behaviors and some basic strategies to work with their child at home, getting them off on that right foot, whatever else they decide to do, because people decide to try a lot of different things, whether it's diet or supplements or oils or whatever else they decide to do, having this basic understanding is going to give them a good foundation for working with their child, communicating with their child, and that will help the whole family be, have less meltdowns, be less up in arms. The whole stress level in the household, everything will notch down. And so I really believe that this good basic education needs to be easily available. That's really what made me found the Academy.
And is this from personal experience? Do you have children or a child that is on the autism spectrum?
Yep, I do. I have a 20-year-old son that's very high functioning and has had a lot of terrific intervention. I have an 18-year-old son that's very ADHD, and it's not terribly different than dealing with someone with autism. And when my son was diagnosed, which was back in 2006, it was really hard to find any good information. I looked and I looked and I looked for a therapist that could help me. Finally, I found a man named Dr. Timothy Wahlberg at the Prairie Clinic here in Geneva, Illinois, and he began to teach me the basics that I needed to know. And I said to him, do you have this in writing? Because I just, I really need to understand this. I need to get my head wrapped around it. And he said, no, I'm trying to write a book, but I just, I see clients from 8 a.m. till 9 p.m. I don't have time. So he had this big stack of notes. I kept looking at him. Finally, one day I said, give me your notes. Let me read them. And I started working with him on his book and became the lead in the writing team for his book. And in doing that, I got an unprecedented education because I could talk with him every day. I was learning what he knew from 25 years of clinical experience. I was applying it to my own son. I was writing it down for other parents, and it just became such an invaluable education for me that when it was done, I then wrote my own book, Autism and the Rest of Us, which is more from a parent's emotional perspective, and then began to work with parents. So I really am excited about the opportunity to to help parents move their lives forward and to get past some of the emotional things that we face as parents. This is not easy news to get. Your kid's got autism.
Yes,
true. And how old was your son when he was diagnosed?
He was 11.
11, yeah, that's about...
Turned 11.
That's about how old I was when I was diagnosed, and I had to ask them to repeat it because it sounded like a swear word to me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
Right. The question is, well, what does that mean, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And they tried to explain it.
Go ahead.
They tried to explain it to me, and I still didn't quite get my head wrapped around it. And it's nice that you do have written material out there so people can wrap their heads around it.
Yeah. And it takes a lot of the scary factor out of it, too. Because, people, if they don't know much about autism, they think it's a disease. And, it isn't a disease. It's something different about the way the brain is processing. But, so many people on the spectrum are so incredibly talented, and they have the ability to think about things in a way that other people don't. And Temple Grandin, I heard her speak recently, about a month ago, 2 months ago maybe, and she actually stood up in front of 500 people and said, we don't want to cure autism because if we cure it, you're never going to have another laptop. You like the laptop that you have, and you want a better variety. We need people on the spectrum. She said half of Silicon Valley is on the spectrum. So, there are many, many talents in people with autism. So I really believe that educating parents so that they can support their children, and educating the country so we can make a little bit of space for people on the spectrum is the long-term solution.
Yeah, and autism runs, the full spectrum. So when people think of autism, they think of people that are very low functioning, but that's not that's part of it. But certainly there's people that are every stage or every place in that spectrum. From low functioning to very high functioning.
Absolutely. And I think that's part of the increase in diagnosis is that people who have been going through life thinking they were just screwed up or stupid or bullies or mean or are now recognizing that there's a neurological basis for what's been happening in their life, and then they can, identify that as autism.
Yeah,
and these are people that are living good lives. Some of them, a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we didn't know. In Brian's case, we didn't know. As he said, he was diagnosed at 11 years old. We were told before that, a little before that, like when he was in first grade, I think.
Mm-hmm.
At first grade, his teacher said, we're going to kick him out of the school. He was in a private school, and they wouldn't allow him to stay the next semester because the way it was phrased is that he's a little different. We can't tell you what's going on there, but something's a little different, and he doesn't fit into this mold in the school. And she recommended that we get him tested. So we did that, and we appreciated the information. But not knowing, not having a name for it, was very frustrating to us as parents. It's
right.
So I would imagine you run into parents like that. I remember when the neurologist at Children's Hospital in Philadelphia called me into his office, and he said, I'm going to give you a profile, and do you think this fits your son? And as soon as he read the profile to me, I said, yeah, that's him. He said, well, that's Aspberger's syndrome,
mm-hmm.
And that's been around for a long time. No one ever talked about it. Been around since the 1940s, but we kind of forgot about it for a while. So, I thought it was very interesting, but it had a name, it had something you could identify.
Right. I agree. I think diagnosis. I know that a lot of parents are struggle with the process of a diagnosis, and they're very afraid of it, and they're trying to avoid it. When in reality, the diagnosis can open up a lot of really positive avenues for understanding and support, and a better life for the entire family.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yes. And what are some of the misconceptions that people may have about autism in general?
In my opinion, the number one misconception is that it's not real. It's really a parenting problem. That if the parent would just parent this child better, parent this child right, then the child would be fine. And I think I hear that all the time. Almost every parent that I talk to says there's someone in their life who is telling them they're just not parenting their kid correctly, and if they would do it correctly, everything would be all right. So I think that's one thing. The other one that is so common is that teachers and people who know that a child is diagnosed but don't know much about the autism often attribute intentionality to the behaviors that the child is showing. He just doesn't want to take out his math book and read. Well, it's not that he just doesn't want to. There's a neurological basis behind that behavior, and because of our, and this is really what I got into deeply in my book, because of our social perspective, the rest of us have this social understanding of the world that includes intrinsic motivation. We assume that each individual is intrinsically motivated, that they're willing to go along with the way that it is just because it's the way that it is. And that doesn't make sense to some people with autism, because they want to know, why do I have to do this? Tell me give me a reason to do it. Especially if it's something that's difficult or confusing or psychologically painful for them to do. They need a reason to do it, and they're not motivated the same way. So teachers assume that the child is just being stubborn or obstinate, when in reality the child is reacting to the autism that they're experiencing. I think it's a huge misconception that the kids just aren't willing. That there's intention behind their behavior. Does that make sense?
Yeah, very, very much so. From my experience, that it's a little shocking to me that people still think that it's a parenting problem, and I guess they're just misinformed. They don't have the information, and I guess that's one of the reasons that you see autism, Aspberger's being promoted in movies and TV shows more, so that the spread.
Well, I think it's an education issue. We need to educate the school systems, the teachers, the pediatricians, the doctors, the therapists are unbelievably out of the loop on autism. Most of the therapists I talked to someone who just got a master's in social work, and she was hanging out her shingle and going to open a therapy practice. And I said, "Oh, great. How much did you learn about autism when you were in school?" She said, "We had 1 hour, one day." This is someone who just graduated with a master's degree in social work, had 1 hour of autism education. I was stunned. Not enough. Not enough.
No, absolutely not enough.
Not enough. No, I agree.
Yep. And what is the misconception between higher functioning autism and lower functioning autism? Or is there any misconception?
Well, I think that people in general, they know that there's a spectrum. They know that there's a spectrum, and the reality is each individual that's on the spectrum, each person with autism is a unique personality, just like the rest of us. They are just like the rest of us. With some are outgoing and some are shy, and some are of high IQs, and some have low IQs, and some, and every range in between. And so I think that people assume that someone who's low functioning has a cognitive impairment, or I think a lot of people assume that everyone with autism has a cognitive impairment, which just isn't true. Just not true. I mean, my son has 128 IQ. He doesn't have a cognitive impairment. He has a different way of processing the world, the information in the world, and that makes him not fit in socially as easily as he would if he processed like the rest of us, if he captured all that social data. So I think that, that people, just number one, the misconception that autism is a mental illness, that it's, that it's a disease, that it has some sort of, cognitive impairment built into it is regardless of where the person is on the spectrum. I think that's a big misconception. But, I think as people begin to understand that each person is impacted differently, and some people more severely than others, you begin to understand why the spectrum has such a wide range of behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
And what I find a lot of times is that when people don't understand, they tend to handle situations not in a good way. They'll yell at the person, because they're trying to get them to do what they want them to do, and so they'll yell at them. They'll be physical with them, and these are all things that are contrary to what you should be doing with an autistic person. So, I don't know if you find that true with parents that come to you.
Yeah, there are a lot of really, really well-meaning people who really, really good parents, let's say, who have 3 other very successful kids, and their parenting techniques are working for their kids, mm-hmm. for their other kids, and then when this one comes along that's on the spectrum, they use the same parenting strategies, and because they don't work, they try harder. Maybe that's yell louder, maybe that's punish more, maybe that's, whatever it is that they do, they try harder with the traditional methods that worked with their other kids. In reality, you need to fall back and regroup. You need to adjust the way you're parenting this unique child on the spectrum, as opposed to trying to force fit them into the parenting style that has been effective with your other kids. So I definitely agree that parents need to know that it's not trying harder with the same techniques. It's adjusting the techniques that's going to be successful for them.
Well, in dealing with what I found is dealing with schools, in particularly the public school system. When Brian was in the public school, you have teachers that really don't understand. We went to an IEP meeting one time, and one of his teachers mentioned his handwriting, and only if he could improve his handwriting, all the other things would just fall in place, is mm-hmm. the way she put it. And I was trying to be very nice to her and very polite, and this is when my patience level was not as high as it is today.
That's an understatement.
That's an understatement.
Yeah.
So I finally turned to her after she said it for the 3rd time. I looked at her in the eye and I said, you're the type of person that would want a blind man to see. And silence. She didn't say anything for the rest of the meeting. So, mm-hmm. But so it's there is that misunderstanding about, especially from teachers and from hopefully not from therapists and psychologists. But you say there still is that misunderstanding out there.
It's a huge gap in knowledge. Absolutely, a huge gap.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like you said, because unfortunately they were not educated when they were studying.
Yeah.
Right, and even today, they're not.
Well, I mean, yeah, today, I mean, not just students who are going to college to become a psychologist, but also even psychologists who work today, you know, they can just educate themselves.
Yep.
Thanks to the internet.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you have to be careful, though. We actually, at the Academy, we are in the process of building a pro training, a training designed for therapists who are in the field working with kids with autism to impart some of this experience that Dr. Wahlberg has gathered over 25 years to help these therapists become autism literate, if you will, to understand what's going on and to have more powerful ability to deal with the kids more powerfully. We're hoping to launch that training in the fall.
Would that be online only, or do you think you would have branches across the country?
It'll primarily be online. Most of the work that we do is online, and the reason for that is because a lot of the parents I talk to are in remote locations. They're in, in an area in a small town where there's just not good therapists around, where there's not the kind of resources around that they need. So we do our work online, by phone, by Skype, and by Zoom. Zoom is a live meeting room. And we do the work that way so that we can reach as many people as possible without them having to travel. Not to mention the fact that parents that have kids on the spectrum, they don't necessarily have the time and the money to take a day off and go somewhere to go to an 8-hour training. So we have created the training to make it as easy to digest and absorb as possible.
That's true.
Have you seen the Power Rangers movie?
I have not seen the Power Rangers movie. I did see a snippet on Julia on Sesame Street, though.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I saw the Power Rangers movie. I heard about the Yellow Ranger being the first openly gay superhero. One thing I think I heard a murmur about, but I didn't get a confirmation until I saw the movie, was that Billy the Blue Ranger said, it's a very small clip, you have to listen for it, but he says, I'm on the spectrum. So I'm assuming that means Asperger's or something else on the autism spectrum, but I'm assuming Asperger's because he's very well spoken, very high functioning. Yeah.
Could you pick up in his behavior? Could you see any difference between him and the other Power Rangers?
I could, yeah. He usually kept to himself, and he always spoke in his own language, his technobabble language.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I call it technobabble, but I mean, I guess some others would call it smart talk.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, I think that the fact that autism is beginning to show up in mainstream media is a really positive step forward, because I do think that my personal opinion is that this is something we're going to be living with for a long time. And again, having the world understand it and be able to function alongside of it and be able to make what accommodations might be necessary to make an individual on the spectrum a little more comfortable and more productive, as a global community learn to do that, I think the world is going to be a better place for all of us.
Absolutely. And I was able to see a small piece on Julia from Sesame Street. I thought that was the probably, like you said, the biggest step forward that we've taken in our society is to create a Muppet for kids who might be struggling with this, to at least understand either their own mind if they are on the spectrum, or even just understand those who are on the spectrum from a kid's perspective.
Right. And to see, I forget what her name is, the other little Muppet with the yellow pigtails, to see her accepting Julia the way she is and engaging with Julia on Julia's terms is something that I really like, that she can still like Julia and understand that she's different, but she can still like her and she can still include her. And I think they're going to do a great job with it. Absolutely.
What problems do you still have, Brian, in terms of or I know they've lessened to a degree.
They have lessened to a degree. Yeah. I used to have a huge reading problem. I wouldn't read it all, but now I read a lot more often. I still don't read like 5 books a day like some people can do.
Yeah.
Because, but now it's.
I don't read 5 books a day.
Well, sometimes you seem like you do.
No, not at all.
But now, just for looking at printed words on page or even on a electronic device, my eyes get tired easily.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But for a long time, I just couldn't sit and read anything. You know, you practically had to. I wouldn't say tie me to a chair because that would be inhuman, but.
But that's how you learn. You learn through visual and
cues and you know, just hearing something repeated over and over again is how I was able to learn. And I learned that through the TV game show. You know, like they had a lot of trivia game shows on the air when I was growing up, and so I was just consuming information that way instead of trying to read anything and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or instead of reading your social environment of your peers, right?
That's correct.
Being with friends and learning from them. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's right. And that was also difficult for me because I was in my own little world. And I tried to bring others into it, but they couldn't understand it, and I couldn't understand their world. So when I would try to make friends, you know, like a lot of times we would either clash or just miss each other.
Right. And today, is that different for you today?
It is different for me today. Probably the biggest difference came in 2000 or 2001 when I first started intensively using the Internet. And I found out there was a lot more game show fanatics like myself. I used to think I was the only one in the world, except for the people who actually went on game shows. And it's amazing that I learned through friendship of them and also meeting them in person. I got to meet a few of them in person. That, you know, I wasn't crazy. I wasn't the only one. And it's amazing that we have this tight little community now that we can just go to and we don't feel afraid or embarrassed or anything really. You know, like we just we could talk the night away if we could.
Yeah, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, they say the internet and Facebook have made people a little bit more antisocial because they don't meet face to face, but it helped me very well.
Well, also I think you know, you were very fortunate to go to a school that specialized in autism, and
that's right. And that's right. I was lucky to get that because, like you were saying, the public school or the private school, they had no idea what to do with me.
Right.
The public school was good, but by the end of 8th grade, I was like, I'd had enough. I don't know how I'm going to get through high school, and then I found a pathway, and that made it a whole lot easier. And then even college life got a lot easier after that.
Right.
Probably because I had a very good high school life.
Yeah, and one of the things that, you know, was amazing to me, because, you know, right now you're listening to Brian on the radio, and
I'm talking normal, and I'm very cognizant on what I'm saying.
Confident, is that?
Yeah, well, cognizant too. Yeah, and confident.
Yeah, but this is a child that did not talk, you know, for a long time. He would not. He would use hand signals for yes and no, and so you know, to see him now, and if we're out in with a group of people, and it's a new situation, and he's out there, you know, talking to people, just going up to people and talking to them. It's quite amazing, you know.
Yeah. What years were you nonverbal, Brian?
It was sometime during elementary school, I think 1st and 2nd grade.
Yeah.
That was around the time when I was switching schools and getting kind of frustrated and also upset about myself.
That's really interesting. You know, that brings a lot of hope to a lot of parents. I love to hear stories like that, because a lot of people I talk to say, you know, my child was doing okay, and then they just stopped talking. And they asked me, you know, are they ever going to talk again? And obviously I can't answer that question, but I love to have stories of hope to share with them and to say, yes, I just talked to somebody who, you know, who went through a period of being nonverbal, and today they're, look at you. I mean, you're doing great.
Absolutely.
He's too verbal today.
I'm too verbal.
Make it up for lost time.
That's right.
Exactly.
No, I'm only kidding. Only joking here.
Well, you know, if you put a microphone in front of my face, I'm usually going about 20 miles an hour or 50 miles an hour.
But yeah.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, exactly.
How are your children doing today?
My sons are both doing okay. My older son, my 20-year-old on the spectrum, he graduated from regular public school for high school, and he has done 2 years at the local community college, and then this summer and this fall he's going to be in a program at a place, a not-for-profit organization called Turning Point, which I don't know if you've heard of them. They're in Naperville, Illinois, and he's going to be going to their career college, and they every year take 16 students through their career college, and they really work, you know, do a lot of one-on-one work to work with the child work with the young person to identify what they want to do with their life and help them build the skills, practical, functional, or other skills that they need, so and build up their sense of security so that they can actually go out, and then they actually go into the community and they find a placement for them, whether it's an internship or a paying job. They do get their graduates out into the field. So it's an amazing program. They're doing amazing work down there. So I'm so excited that he got accepted to that program. So that's what he'll be doing for the next year, from June until June of next year.
Mm-hmm. And you said your other son was kind of hyper, right?
Yeah, he's ADHD. He's a senior in high school, and he's also, in regular public school. Although he is in an academy program there, where he is doing most of his work online, so that he doesn't have to fight the challenges of the regular classroom and the social environment, which was really becoming overwhelming for him. And he has not been diagnosed, and not sure. You know, he's sort of right on the bubble, I think. But he drives. My 20-year-old doesn't drive. My 18-year-old drives. So he's moving forward in life too. He's going to graduate from high school here in a couple of months, and we'll go on to community college as well.
That's great. That's great.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, I think that was another thing that really helped me in high school was the public school would not flip for a laptop, and I think I did get one for high school and beyond. So that really took a weight off my back, because as you were hearing, that my handwriting, it still is not great, but it's gotten a heck of a lot better throughout the years.
Yeah. One of the clinicians that I work closely with said to me not that long ago, he said that he thought that handwriting should be part of the diagnostic criteria. He said, I've never met a kid, especially a boy, on the spectrum that had decent handwriting.
Yeah.
So
true.
you're not alone. Apparently that's a very, very common area of difficulty.
Mm-hmm. And you know, I understand, because my daughter was very hyper, and she was diagnosed, and she was going like 20 miles an hour all the time, you know.
It sure was only 20.
Well, no, sometimes 60, you know, but...
higher.
Yeah, higher. But, I had lunch with her yesterday. She's now 38.
About
right?
38, yeah.
Yeah, 38 years old. So had lunch with her yesterday, and she has a nephew now, and they spent the day with the nephew, and she at one point got frustrated with him and said, sat him down and said, look, you know, for 4 hours we did everything that you wanted to do, and it's still not enough. And then she stopped and she thought about her childhood, and she said, oh, yeah, I understand. So... Yeah. It was
a virtual slap in the face.
No, well,
It's close to home, huh?
Close to home, yeah, without a doubt.
Exactly.
But, this is the reason I appreciate you talking about this, because I think for parents who are listening to this show and who may know someone or maybe within their own family and they're dealing with this, it's not easy to deal with. Sometimes husbands and wives are not on the same page. Sometimes teachers are not on the same page, or other family members may not be on the same page. So it's important to get everybody rowing in the same direction. And once that happens, once that happens, amazing things can happen in people's lives. So it's not a sentence, as you said. It's not a sentence. It's not a disease. It's we're all wired a little differently, and that's true on the autism spectrum as well. So,
absolutely, absolutely, and learning to honor those differences and to, appropriately accommodate is really, in my opinion, is the answer. That is the quote unquote cure. People that go around talking about. I asked my son, and Brian, I'll ask you the same question.
Okay.
I asked my son one day, if there was a magic pill that would cure your autism, would you take it? And my son answered, no, give it to somebody who really needs it. What about you? If there was a magic pill that would cure the autism, would you take it?
No, I wouldn't. I don't think I would know how to live any other way. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I think that's, when someone is who they are, to tell them, hey, we're going to find a cure for what's wrong with you. I almost find that offensive myself.
I do, and I think what we should be striving to do is to help people to compensate or to find strategies for moving forward with wherever they are, to try to have them move forward and succeed.
Absolutely. And that's really what we're all about at the Academy, and really want to just be a source for reliable, dependable, accurate information, because there are a lot of people doing a lot of crazy things to try to cure their children of autism, and it makes me sad, because I think a lot of them are really missing the real opportunity to help their child by settling down and accepting what it is and understanding it, and really helping their child to manage life on life's terms.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I've proven that success does happen, because a lot of people have been telling me, you'll never make it through high school and you'll never make it through college, and I have a bachelor's in broadcasting and communications.
And you rock at it. Look at you.
Yep, exactly.
I'm so happy to meet you and so happy to talk with you.
Thank you. Same to you.
Likewise. So, can you give before we leave? Can you give everyone your website and or telephone number? Where can they contact you?
Sure, absolutely. Our website is www.nationalautismacademy.com. nationalautismacademy.com. We're also on Facebook at National Autism Academy. And we are really, really proud of our Facebook page, because we really only publish positive, encouraging, uplifting, reliable information. And, we're really proud of the work that we're doing there on Facebook. If you wanted to call us, our 800 number is 800-266-7013. And, we would love to hear from you or support you, encourage you. We do have a lot of free resources available. You can find those either through our Facebook or our website. And some great resources, particularly for parents who are and grandparents. We talk to a lot of grandparents also, people who are just getting their head wrapped around what does this mean to me and to my child and to our life. So, yeah. We're very excited to be here. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you,
welcome.
and thank you for being on the show and sharing with us. We do appreciate it.
Anytime.
Thank you very much, and you have a great holiday too.
Thank you. You too. And it's so nice to meet you, Brian. I love your success. I can't wait to share with other people about how you're just rocking it out there.
Thank you, Jeannie. Thank you.